Hello, beautiful human. Welcome back to Inner Space. I'm Danielle Y.S., the founder of Inner Eye Wellness, an astrobiologist turned grief doula. Inner Space is a place to nurture your life's journey so that you can connect with who you really are and lead the life you were born to live. Whether it's life or death, work or play, solitude or connection, inner space is where true life begins. So let's explore. In the last episode of Inner Space, we explored 3 steps to follow for healthy and safe grieving. The second step, and perhaps one of the most challenging, is befriending discomfort. Over the next 3 episodes, episodes 5, 6, and 7, we get to explore 3 different examples of befriending discomfort and how this practice can help you lead a life of deeper connection, inner peace, and joy. From yoga philosophy to chapters of life ending to the expectations we have of life itself, what this comes down to is intentional, conscious, open surrender. Today, we're exploring surrender through a yoga pose, Savasana. And for those of you who don't practice yoga, or for those of you who don't like yoga at all, don't worry. You don't need to know anything about yoga. You don't need to like it, or even stepped onto a yoga mat to be here. Whether you've practiced for decades, or this is your first time even hearing the word yoga, there are plenty of juicy insights for you in this episode. And if you're a veteran and you feel like you already know the information being offered in this episode, see if you can practice yoga just by listening with your full attention to each sentence, each word, each syllable. In order to talk about Shavasana and how it relates to living well and dying well, we need to lay the foundation for exploration. After all, a tree would never grow a leaf before spreading its roots, just as a builder would never construct the roof before laying the foundation. So, today, we will first lay our foundation by discussing what yoga really is. Then, we'll choose our tool by exploring the yoga pose Shavasana. Finally, we'll begin to build and grow towards living well and dying well through conscious, intentional, open surrender through Shavasana. So first, let's lay our foundation. What is yoga really? Take a moment and just receive that question. See what comes up. What is yoga really? What does it mean to you? What connotations do you have with yoga? What images, what sounds, what smells? What does yoga mean to you? Maybe it's an exercise. Maybe it's a practice to become more flexible. Maybe it's help you prepare your body to sit up nice and tall for meditation. Maybe it's helped you connect with a deeper part of yourself that perhaps you didn't even know was there. Whatever the case, yoga has many layers. Yoga originated in India, and it's one of the 6 fundamental systems of Indian thought, which are known collectively as darshana. The word darshana is a Sanskrit word with a root meaning to see. TKV Desikachar, the son of T. Krishnamacharya, who is often called the father of modern yoga, describes darshana with an image, a mirror with which we can look inside ourselves. Darshana guides us towards recognizing ourselves better by looking deeper inside ourselves as we reckon with the teachings. The word yoga itself can be interpreted as meaning to unite or to come together. This unification, just like the practice of yoga, has many layers. We can unite body and mind. We can unite mind, body, and spirit, or whatever word you like to give to something that's bigger than the individual. It may mean uniting the lowercase self with the uppercase self. So together, yoga is a deeper practice of uniting parts of ourselves to a bigger whole. And as part of the 6 fundamental systems of Indian thought, darshana, we come to this unification through seeing more clearly. So hopefully you can see a little bit more clearly that yoga is not just a physical practice. It's not just exercise for the body as it's commonly thought of in the Western world these days. It's a deep practice, system, and philosophy. In fact, the physical practice of yoga is just one of 8 limbs of yoga. The 8 limbs include guidelines for how we treat others, guidelines for how we treat ourselves, physical movement, which we tend to think of in the Western world as yoga, breathing practices, concentration techniques, turning our attention inwards rather than outwards, meditation, and enlightenment. Yes, enlightenment. The 8 limbs were, and remain to this day, a path to enlightenment. Or to put it into more contemporary terms, a path to rediscovering who we really are and aligning our actions, words, thoughts, and lives with who and what that is. It's a practice of uniting body with mind, with emotions, with spirit, or fill in whatever word you choose. It's all of the above. And when we take on this practice to unite all parts of this self, we do it through deeply and truly seeing ourselves in all the good and all the bad, or whatever label you want to give to it. And we bring into being the lives we were meant to live. When I took my first yoga practice, I did not get it at all. I was in college and I went to a class at Yoga to the People in New York City. At that point in time, my exercise was fiery, it was fast, it was running, it was kicking, it was jumping, it was shooting a puck. I had no idea what yoga was, and the practice itself felt slow to me as an exercise of the body. It wasn't for another couple of years, when I started to meditate, that I really found out that yoga had this deeper layer, or deeper layers to it. When one of my close friends told me, yoga is traditionally a spiritual practice. It's a practice to prepare the body and the mind for meditation. And that's when it clicked for me. I was able to bring my meditation into my yoga practice, and it made sense to go deeper. But when I approached it from the perspective that it is exercise and it's for only the body, I didn't get it and I wrote it off. But as I've gone deeper with the practice of yoga, become a yoga instructor, infused yoga philosophy into my work as a grief doula, what I can say about yoga is that it's a path home to the self. So now that we've laid our foundation and talked about what yoga is, our second step is to choose our tool. Today we're talking about Shavasana as our tool to live well and die well. So Shavasana is a pose that we practice in all of our yoga classes. If there's one pose that you know you're going to get in any yoga practice, it's Shavasana. It comes at the end of the practice. And what we do is lay on our backs as wide open as we can. Legs spread as wide as the yoga mat, arms alongside the body, palms facing up, our shoulder blades snuggled together under the heart space to lift the heart and open it. It's a pose of surrender. Now, many people, including me, when I was coming to yoga as a practice of exercise and just for the body, many people think it's a throwaway pose. It's one you don't really need in your practice. It's just part of the tradition. Some people think it's like sleeping. I've probably heard some people say it's being lazy, but it's a lot deeper than that. It's how we finish all of our movement practices, all the practices that move the body through postures as the physical practice of yoga. And it's essential for balancing out the body and the mind after those practices. All exercises have two parts: stressing the body and resting the body. This applies to the gym, the studio, but it also goes beyond that. Most of the time, in those practices, and indeed in most of society, we tend to focus on stress. And we tend to shorten, skimp, or even completely ignore the rest part because we think we're being lazy, or because we don't think it's important because we're not doing anything. But resting and creating time and space and a container for that rest to happen actively and consciously and intentionally is crucial for our practice and for living. We have to balance stress with rest in yoga, in exercise, in all of life. What happens if we're always stressed out? What happens if our bodies are always going? We are made to rest. When we get sick, when we get injured, that's our body saying we've pushed it too far. And don't get me wrong, likewise, it's a balance. We can't only rest because all of life is about balance. Shavasana is an active form of rest. It's incredibly effective. In fact, a number of medical studies have shown that the effects of stress were reduced in a significantly shorter amount of time by Shavasana than by simply laying down or sitting quietly. It's because we are consciously, intentionally, and openly surrendering. When we are simply laying down or sitting quietly, oftentimes that's what the body is doing, but not necessarily the mind. There is still an internal divergence. But when we come to Shavasana, because we are practicing yoga, we are working on knitting back together the body and the mind and the energy. And that's where that deep rest comes from. The body is relaxed. The mind is alert and it is present with the body. It's aware of the body relaxing. And the benefit of this is that we rebalance. We rebalance the body, we rebalance the mind, and we absorb the benefits of our practice. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, all of the above. So, with our foundation of yoga and with our tool of Shavasana, how the heck can lying on our backs doing not nothing, but just being aware, actually help us to learn to build and grow towards living and dying well? Seems like a crazy assertion, right? Well, Shavasana is the epitome of conscious, intentional, open surrender. And that is the foundation for befriending discomfort. If we can learn to surrender in this way, whether we are surrendering to our bodies relaxing into Shavasana, or we're surrendering to the most challenging, painful experience in life like loss, what we are really doing is living. For many of us, Shavasana is the hardest pose in the physical practice of yoga because it's scary to surrender. And it's scary to be still, quiet, and passive. Shavasana is a Sanskrit word, and it translates to corpse pose or dead posture. There's a reason that there is a grief doula talking to you about Shavasana, dead posture. Remember that Shavasana comes at the end of every physical practice of yoga. It signifies the end of our practice and the natural completion to the journey we have been on, whatever that journey may be. Embracing the little death of Shavasana helps us come to terms with embracing and even looking forward to the little deaths that are all around us every day. And when we can do that and not run away, not be scared, and even find ease within the discomfort, we can embrace and welcome the big deaths that come around at big transition points in our lives. And if we can embrace the big deaths, that's the epitome of living well. And of course, of dying well. We can die well once we live well, and we can live well once we die well. When we come into Shavasana, it's at the end of our practice of yoga. It's at the end of the journey that we've been on, the natural completion. We know it's coming. We are okay with it coming. And we welcome it because we have done everything we need to have done. Nothing more, nothing less. Many people attend yoga classes because it's the one time in their day where they don't have to think about what they're doing. They can just be told and be present. It doesn't matter what poses they do. It doesn't matter what poses they don't do. When we come to the end and are in Shavasana, we've done everything we need to have done. We are ready to be still. We are ready to let go, ready to surrender. We accept all that we have done exactly as it is. And we can release all expectations of doing or being any other way but exactly as we are. We turn down the body. We slow down the breath, slow down our lives. We choose to do less. We choose to surrender. We choose to let go. We even change our body to help our mind calm down, turning our palms to face upwards so they feel no physical stimulation at the touch receptors, because that stimulates the mind. And finally, as we relax deeply into Shavasana, it creates inner space. And that space can become a container for deeper insights, releases, and even new beginnings. Because without endings, there can never be new beginnings. Shavasana, corpse pose or dead posture, pose that comes at the end of every single yoga practice, pose that we know is coming. We love that it's coming, we welcome it, we look forward to it, or we dread it. We ignore it, we pretend it's not coming and do something else. That's exactly the choice that we have in life. We can accept and acknowledge and welcome that death is a natural part of life, a natural completion to the journey we've been on and the journey our loved ones have been on. And we can surrender to it and welcome it, or we can pretend that it doesn't exist. We can choose to busy our minds and our bodies and not participate. And one of these leads us on the path of living well and dying well. The choice is up to you. Your homework for this episode is to practice Shavasana. And when I say Shavasana, it can be the physical practice, laying in the posture. But more importantly, practice conscious, intentional, open surrender. Try it at the end of a yoga class. Try it at the end of the day as you get ready for sleep. Try it without the pose and without the physical body. See if you can come to the end of something and simply surrender, allowing yourself to witness and integrate all the beauty of this chapter and this journey in exactly the way it was present for you. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's a sneak peek for episode 7. We'll get deeper into that. Beautiful humans, if you've enjoyed this discussion and exploration today, subscribe to hear more, leave us a review. And if you know someone who could use a little more rest, a little more balance, and a little more surrender in their lives, share this episode with them. Thank you so much for exploring inner space with me today. I'm Danielle YS, and until next time, keep looking in.